Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. Seb here, and today I want to do a reaction video to a video that was uploaded by Jubilee, a channel that is very famous, and what they do is basically they bring people from two different backgrounds or opinions or stances or beliefs. They call it the middle ground. These people will sit down and talk together and discuss their beliefs. Before we get into it, I want to let you know that I have not yet watched the video. So all my reaction is going to be raw. I haven't seen anything of it. A friend of mine sent me this video after watching the other video that I made about indigenous people that you can check out by clicking here. And just as I was going to watch it, I thought, wait a minute, let's try to do a vegan takedown video on this. So before we get started, I want to ask you as always to please subscribe and hit the notification button to stay up to date with all my videos. And if you, of course, use other social media platforms, feel free to follow me there as well. Let's get to the video and see what's going to happen.
I became vegan because I could no longer think about eating something that was once living and breathing.
The primary thing that keeps me vegan is just always the animal liberation. The idea that we are trying to push our ideas onto others. That stereotype I've experienced the most.
Hunting is a very hard concept for people to understand. I am in Texas, it's a lot more acceptable, even though being a woman who hunts, people still, have a really hard time with that concept.
I feel like a lot of people think vegans are more effeminate. People will question your sexuality oftentimes.
I grew up in a rural village, living off the land. The way we live is in total respect to the animals, and I think there's so much that people do not know about indigenous culture.
So before the discussion even starts, we realize that the way that they have framed it is quite welfarist. It literally says, spark a dialogue about animals' well-being and the food industry. I don't know how it's going to continue, but veganism has nothing to do with well-being and industry. It's more about the rights. It has nothing to do with how you're treating the animal before you kill the animal or while you exploit the animal or how bad the industry is. It's literally the philosophy that lets humans actually think that other animals are here for us to take advantage of them and exploit them.
My name is Danny. I'm queer, I'm vegan, and I'm multiracial.
Hi, my name is Don Marvens. I've been a vegan for coming on 6 years now. I'm a freelance photographer and I recently moved to the LA area.
My name is Nina. I'm 24. I've been vegan for coming up on 5 years now, and I'm a professional astrologer.
All right, professional astrologer. I have no idea what that is, but okay.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I'm Koyukon Dene from Alaska.
I'm Carly, I'm from Texas. I'm a wife, a mom. I also do sales and marketing consulting.
Okay, so I think the crowd is really interesting. The first person, if I'm not mistaken, identified himself as queer and vegan. The second person is Black American or African American. Third person seems to be a white woman, I may be wrong. And then we have one woman from Texas, and then one, if I'm not mistaken, of course, indigenous woman from Alaska, if I understood right. Pretty sure that's what she meant. All right, let's continue.
First prompt is, I care about animals' well-being. Walk forward if you agree.
Is that surprising to y'all that two hunters walked over?
I would love to hear why. Yeah, I would love to hear it.
Hunters have the utmost respect for animals.
I used to be a hunter. Listen, I had utmost respect for animals, but I was killing them. Like, it's really frustrating because every single hunter says this, I respect them so much, but it's like, then why do you kill them? You literally have the option to not kill them and you decide to kill them. Anyway, let's continue.
I think that's a really hard thing for people to see. How can you love something and respect something that you kill? It's just a hard concept, right?
Fair enough, fair enough. I also want to say one thing. No matter how I react to this video, I really, really enjoyed these discussions. I really love people from two different beliefs coming together and discussing their beliefs and ideas. This is literally, in my idea, one of the best ways to go forward. Now, I'm pretty sure no one here is going to change their stance, but in general, I'm such a big fond of healthy and open conversations.
Conservation is a big reason why I hunt. It not only provides food for my family, but I can shoot a certain number of deer each year, and that will keep that population and that herd thriving.
I guess I've never really came at this conversation from like an angle of vegans versus hunters. It's always vegans versus a meat eater. So I understand, in a sense, the respect you have to what you're doing. I just know that I could never do that.
Yeah, and I think that for me is one of my maybe more bigger issues, is not with vegans, but it's more people who eat meat but don't understand hunting. So you're gonna eat meat that was slaughtered at a
100%. Wait, I want to let her finish the sentence.
factory. But I can't just give a deer one swift, great bullet in the heart where it dies.
Okay, so I love the point that she made. I really don't understand meat eaters, non-vegans, who hate on hunters. Like, literally, you pay other people to kill animals. This person, the only difference is that instead of paying someone else to kill an animal, they're killing an animal. So 100% with her on that point, minus the point where she was like, but I can just take one shot to the heart and it's over. And she says it with such pride, like, I can do that. Like, you can also just eat a plant-based diet. And one more thing that I want to say, I was just reading an article by Faunalytics. I've made a video about them before. It's an organization that checks studies and other things that have been done and puts them all together and then provides them as resources for animal rights advocates. And they had put together like 1,300 studies or more even than that. And the conclusion was that there is no real proof that hunting actually helps with conservation, like actually peer-reviewed data that hunting is actually working. And you know what's weird? Let's imagine that it works. Would that, like, if you're doing it for sustainability because you want to help the population, you're that worried about other animals, would you do the same with humans? I'm pretty sure none of you would start killing random humans because you want to make sure not too many resources are being used and there is no overpopulation. And if you wouldn't do it with humans, then what is the trait that these animals have that if a human had would justify doing the same to humans? There is no trait.
Albert's supposed to die.
I was one of those people that said I could never even be vegetarian. Like, I was probably like the people that you're describing, just, not having a connection to what they're eating. I didn't think about it. And then as streaming services go, I found a little documentary through the suggestions.
But it changed your life.
And it changed my life. And I remember I went to brunch that morning and I had like sausage and egg and like fried cheese. And then that night I watched this documentary. And so that's why I'm vegan, because I can't support like us as an industry and as a populace, like removing the choice from that large of a swath of animal populations just because they're animals.
If there was a solution, like the magic happens, the skies part, and all the meat is like done in a way that is humane, would that make you?
The humane argument, please, can we just move on? Humane means to show benevolence, to show compassion. How would you compassionately kill someone when you have the option not to kill them? You literally don't have to kill them. Like, one of the dogs is sleeping right here, right now, okay? Max? Come here, Max. This is Max, okay? I do not have to kill Max. If I decide to kill Max now, when he's asleep and he doesn't see it coming, he doesn't feel any pain, boom, gone in a second. Is that humane? Is that compassionate? Look at his expression. He understands what I'm saying. He's so sick of this as well. Gonna let go of Max now. You get the point. If you don't have to kill someone and you kill them, you don't get to call it compassionate, benevolent, or humane. Back to the video.
More inclined to eat meat?
I think that you sort of get into the fundamentals of like, is it humane to kill something? I have to understand and respect and honor that, like, in indigenous cultures, there's many reasons why people hunt. We would all be remiss if we didn't admit that, at a time in human history, like, we needed animal protein and animal meat to survive. But today, it's not necessarily a necessity.
I was being taught.
Thank you. He said it perfectly. I wouldn't say the whole honor and respect part for any culture killing other animals or exploiting them. However, he did make a very straight point where he said, we have done this in the past because we had to, but now we don't. There's no necessity.
Ethical hunting by an ethical hunter. And again, I think that's a harder concept here, because trust me, like, they're asshole hunters. But that's what I saw conservation, and I saw ethical hunting, and I saw why we do it, and I saw the food. You know, I haven't bought beef, I mean, in 6-7 years.
Can I ask you a question that I'm kind of scared to ask?
And we'll see.
So you said that you're a mother, and if you think of like Bambi, do you ever consider the small baby animals that you're taking their parents away from them?
Okay. So Bambi doesn't exist. Right. That's a Disney movie. If a mom is there with her.
How is that an argument? Yeah, of course Bambi doesn't exist, but like, she's testing your logical consistency. You know, if you felt bad watching Bambi, why would you do it in real life?
Yearlings, you would never kill that mom, right? You wait until she kicks them out of the house.
Okay. So like, you know, if there's a mother who's just had kids, I can just wait until they're 18, they move out, and I go and I kill her. Fine. That's completely fine.
Part of like ethical hunting.
That is like, yeah, no one really, like, you wait until the babies are kicked out.
I learned from my Tlingit cousins, they're from the southeastern Alaska. They're the ones that invented the fish hook. It was so wide that only a full-grown halibut could get caught. It's a generational thought. You're not just thinking about, oh, I need food tonight. You're like, how do I make sure I protect their natural processes? When fish hooks are made now, anything can go out. So many of our pre-colonial traditions were staying in balance with animals, and we had so many practices that prevented overhunting. And the people who are living off the land, who are fighting for the land, are getting last priority. We're not allowed to fish if there's commercial fishing. We're constantly being watched and fined. It's constantly having land taken away. If you look at any community, it's constantly happening to them where they're told they're not allowed to do this or eat this. It's all connected, it's all a cycle.
Okay, so obviously it's really messed up how these communities are victims of big industries, no matter what industry that is. But basically, in her case, she explained that, you know, the hook that was created at first, it was actually created for grown-up adult fishes. And nowadays you can just kill any fish with the hooks, but like, yeah, it's not better. It's just less bad. Okay. I actually have the same view over hunting. Like, if someone has to kill an animal, I'd rather them hunt than actually go and buy from a farmer from the industry. But that's not because I think hunting is better. Hunting is still horrible. It's just less horrible from the industry. You're still killing an animal when you don't have to. And just because something comes from generations doesn't justify that. It's just a logical fallacy appealing to tradition, and it just doesn't work in this day and age. If you actually want to have my full opinion and stance when it comes to indigenous people and veganism and hunting, please watch this video. I beg you. You're not gonna like get my full stance by only watching this video, and if you're gonna attack me in the comment section without watching the main video I've made about the subject, then you're just wasting your time. Let's continue.
It's all a cycle.
Veganism is a privileged way of living.
Interesting. The woman from Texas did not come forward.
If you have a choice of where you get to get your food and where it comes from, and even knowing about it is a privilege.
To have the choice to be vegan, that includes, you know, makeup and clothing and all of these things. And
Makeup is not a necessity. I wouldn't call it. I mean, you can be vegan and not ever think about makeup. But yeah, I mean, if you want to say that having access to vegan makeup is a privilege, of course, but makeup in general is like a privilege compared to people who don't have makeup at all.
you know, sustainable clothing, for example, is a top dollar if you're trying to buy it new, and thrifting is great, but some people don't even have access to that. And so I think that choice is a privilege and veganism is a choice.
I was born in Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And the fact that my parents were able to leave with me when I was just like 1 year old into the States, like really shaped how my life would go. The lifestyle that I'm living is such a stark contrast from the people down in the Caribbean.
I feel like I have to talk about how veganism, especially in the States and especially in like the global West, has been totally co-opted by, like, I'm just gonna say it, by whiteness. Veganism shouldn't be a privilege, in my opinion, but it is. Like, the world that we live in now, it is.
I mean, I agree to a certain extent. I agree that yes, if you have the option to choose what you're gonna eat, of course it's a privilege. But the problem with this is that the second you categorize veganism as privilege, people are just going to use that to kind of justify them not going vegan. Basically take advantage of literally people who don't have that choice and use their struggle in their benefit. However, if we look at this graph by Our World in Data, which is an amazing website I've talked about as well in the past, you would see that it's actually the most underprivileged and poorest countries that eat the least amount of meat because their GDP per capita happens to be one of the lowest as well. Look at this list: India, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Rwanda, Tanzania, Mozambique, Uganda, Indonesia, Solomon Islands, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Cambodia, Madagascar. You get my point, all right? Obviously, when it comes to India, religion plays a part, but not for the rest, okay? So I wouldn't really say that veganism is as much of a privilege as much as eating meat is. And you have to keep in mind, to eat meat, you have to have the privilege to live in a world where it is okay to needlessly murder an animal. That is quite a privilege, I would say, when it comes to humans.
I don't know enough about being a vegan. I think of it as like something that rich white people do, but I don't know. I don't know any vegans. I don't know how much money it costs.
Yeah, a lot of people.
I have so much respect for her to just go like, I don't know. I think this, but I don't know. It's really amazing.
Also, from lower income backgrounds or areas, they also rely on fast food. Yeah. And that stuff is really cheap because, as far as I understand, the government subsidizes meat and animal products much more than it does vegetables.
When we think about someone who has to work a low-wage job to survive, you also have to think they're probably working more than one job, possibly. Mm-hmm. You want the easiest meals. You want the highest calorie meals because you're working and you're burning so many calories. So when you're saying, why don't you eat more plant-based, you're asking them to change their shopping habits. You're asking them to spend more time. You're asking them to educate themselves. And when you are working that hard, you have to numb yourself. You are eating to survive. That is different.
I get the point she's trying to make. However, I would say that it's still a responsibility when your habits are actually costing the life of another animal. What these animals go through, we don't even have the worst criminals going through that as a result of their action as punishment, all right? And these animals have done nothing to us. So yes, in some way, obviously, if you are that busy and you're working so many jobs and you live in a place where it costs more to buy plant-based products, which is not the case in most of the countries in the world, then I would understand, but it doesn't justify. It just explains, but it doesn't mean it's ethical or moral.
And it's not fair to like ask any of those people in survival mode to completely like shift their way of life and learn a whole new lifestyle. And I definitely agree with that. I'm just curious, like, if we were all born like 3 centuries from now, the world has been globalized and like agriculture can reach every corner of the globe, how would that affect, if at all, your views or your choices?
Am I going to be judged if I say not at all?
I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah, I'm going to eat meat. I don't want to say there's no reason to not eat meat, but there's maybe no reason for me not to eat meat.
I get it.
I'm feeling judged.
I'm not judging, but I don't understand. I'll be honest, I don't understand.
I mean, like, I still cry when I kill something. I mean, I love the animals, but
you're not killing something, okay? This desk is a thing. You're killing an animal. All right, that's a life you're taking. I really hope that the indigenous person also replies this question, because I want to see what she would say about this scenario.
We're still just animals. Like, it's okay to eat one. Everyone's been eating meat forever.
That's
Logical fallacy.
true.
You know, and
It's been a
there's
long
never
time
been
practice.
a culture ever that was 100% vegan. You know, they
Wrong. In the Himalayas, there was a culture that was vegan for thousands of years.
have shifted. They're plant-based and Mediterranean and Buddhist, and they have moved towards.
It sounds like it's a natural order kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear, because I'm firmly of the belief that like we are animals. So for me, the natural order perspective doesn't hold a lot of water.
Do you guys have pets? Like, in other parts of the world, what you would consider your pet, some people would eat.
But that's there. I mean, like, I don't eat my dog, and I hope many don't eat my dog. But that's, you know, I mean, I can't worry about someone in China eating dogs. Like, we can all try to make the world a better place. And
It's interesting though, because it does kind of challenge the natural order perspective. Like,
Where do you draw the line?
Right.
Something to think about in this conversation too is knowing that even when we eat plants, there's so many people that we're exploiting.
Yes.
The core of this, I think, is just having that respect for.
Okay, so if I am buying plants, basically plant-based food, from a company that I know is using slaves, and I'm aware of that, and I don't change my action, but I say, but I respect them, I care about them, and I love them. What would you say about my morals and actions? It doesn't justify. It just doesn't, all right? It's not the same thing. And yes, horrible companies exist out there who are exploiting workers in the plant-based food system. But that doesn't mean that a plant-based diet is inherently unethical and immoral, whereas killing an animal unnecessarily is literally inherently immoral and unethical because it demands you take the life of someone else when you have the option not to.
I fully agree with that. I think it's such a falsehood when vegans say cruelty-free. The avocados that I eat, were harvested by people that are being exploited. So,
Do you guys consider hunting a privilege?
isn't everything a privilege to a point, right? A lot of people are going literally in their backyard, shooting something, processing it in their house, and putting it right on the table for their family. Like, that to me is beautiful. Hunting can be really expensive. You basically have to have a huge ranch, or you have to spend a ton of money, right? The trophy hunters and the going over to Africa and hunting. I have not done that yet. That does not mean that I am not for it or against it. I do know.
How could you claim you are an ethical hunter and you're not sure if you're for or against trophy hunting? Those are literally people who go and hunt innocent animals to pose with them, and they pay tens of thousands of dollars for it. Talk about privilege, murder, unethical and immoral actions. Like, it's really confusing because I really like a lot of the things that this woman is saying. I find so much reasoning in her answers sometimes, and then other times it's really almost disturbing.
That tourism in Africa is a huge moneymaker for them. I mean, those villages are really poor, and having an entire animal and multiple animals that hunters give them it's big for them.
My question with that would just be, why would it have to be a tourist? It kind of just sounds like the white savior complex.
I agree with that, but also another thing I want to say is if you're going to pay $20,000 to go and kill an animal and give it to those poor people that you claim you care so much about, how about you actually put in like a plant-based food system with all the money that these companies are making by letting tourists come and hunt animals, and find a solution that is sustainable and that doesn't rely on people coming and murdering animals.
Because we are willing to pay a shitload of money.
I remember reading a statistic about like a single elephant in its lifetime can garner over $1 million just from photographic tourism. One single elephant's ivory is about $21,000. So just that in itself, like, to me, is evidence that like non-violent tourism, like non-trophy hunting tourism, like is just as lucrative, if not more lucrative than trophy hunting.
Hunting is only acceptable
agree with this.
Come on, Brittany.
If this was asked first, I would have disagreed, but after hearing your story, it is necessary to an extent.
If you're hunting for food, then you're saying that your life is more important than that other animal's life, and that is more reasonable to me than saying that your pleasure or your trophy or whatever is more important than an animal's life.
There's also safety, which I now realize, and it's like almost 2 hours if you needed a medical emergency evacuation. So yeah, I don't know any killing besides safety and like food, and then we still try to make the most out of the body and the fur, and we'll try to like feed it to the dog team. So
There is just the biology of land, and there's biology of carrying capacity, and there's biology of how these animals have to be, you know, taken care of. I know that if people are not hunting, those deer are gonna starve. There's not enough food, there's not enough water, there's not enough shelter. So to me,
Okay, so basically, when it comes to the United States, so many wild animals are killed in order to protect livestock that it results in some lack of balance in nature. And therefore, sometimes some species face these complications because of a nature imbalance caused by humans who want to protect livestock because they want to eat animals when they have the option not to. So it's almost like you're acting like your wrongdoing is justified because you're doing it for a good reason, but what you're doing is actually you're cutting the branches of a tree if the tree is the problem, instead of just going like, why don't we just get rid of the roots of the tree and the problem will no longer exist.
I will take one for the team and I will shoot a few deer this year to keep the land in check and the ecosystem in check.
I don't disagree that maintaining equilibrium of an ecosystem is important. My question to that would be like, what's actually sitting at the root cause of the deer overpopulation? Is the root cause that people aren't hunting enough, or is the root cause that their land is being taken away? But me making assumptions, hunting is a Band-Aid solution.
Like, I wish I could answer a
I agree so much with him.
very smart and like, well, based on data, done. I mean, look at Los Angeles and Dallas, and like, where are animals going?
Right.
They're dying. You know, I mean, but what is the solution? I don't know.
the US a lot of the times has tried to decide what animals need to go or not without the guidance of indigenous people who have been doing this for thousands of years and who have relationships with the animals. There are solutions, there are people that know it, and we need to push people in power to uplift voices who have this knowledge.
My diet is healthier.
Hey, girl.
Hey. The question is healthier than what? I chose to come up here because my diet is healthier than when I was not eating a vegan diet. I think awareness is one of the healthiest things that we can have.
I know if you like search veganism like online, especially on YouTube, you can see very dangerous vegan diets being like just told to like a massive audience of like young impressionable people. Like, but like Oreos are vegan, Twizzlers are vegan, and it's been 1 a.m. and I've downed a sleeve of Oreos. I'm just like, why did I do that?
Just wait till you're 30.
Yeah, I'm 24, so I feel like I'll just keep on kicking. I don't know.
Coming here, I want to be very careful in extremes. Like my meat is, my diet is healthier. I don't know that, I don't know you, I don't know you, I don't know you. I believe the meat I eat is better than what you would get at McDonald's. I just think it would be so hard to be a vegan. Like it seems like so much work.
There's a learning curve.
It's not hard in the grand scheme of things. I feel
I mean, it's definitely not as hard as picking up a gun, going into the forest and trying to kill innocent animals. Like, you just eat plants. Like, instead of buying bullets, you buy fruits and vegetables and rice and grains and legumes.
a lot better putting in the work because I feel more empowered, I guess you could say. The definition of veganism is just as far as what is practicable and possible. It's all about doing your best.
Hey, thank y'all really.
Okay, so final conclusion of this video. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I really like the crowd that they chose. Quite mixed. It's really nice to have all these different backgrounds, all these different views. I think everyone was quite open as well. I would wish that every single one of them addressed, and vegans included, addressed the animals as them, like as animals, as beings, instead of it, which is a word that we use for objects. However, it is something that exists in our vocabulary. It's a learning curve. We have to change that as well, even if we're vegan. So you might be vegan yourself watching this video, and you probably do that mistake as well. Please work on it and stop objectifying animals. That being said, please do check out my other video. In my opinion, when it comes to indigenous people, such as people who live in Alaska, instead of importing all these like state-of-the-art guns and hunting material, they could also just work on subsidizing the plant-based foods that they import, because it's really, really ridiculously expensive. I put a photo, like a screenshot on my other video, you can check it out. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Let me know if you want to see more of these reactions where I'm watching it for the first time. I guess I'll see you in the next video. If you want to support my work, check out my website sebalex.org or ethicsoverhabits.com for vegan and organic and fair trade merchandise to spread the message of animal rights. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. I will see you in the next video.